President Rodrigo Duterte warns COVID-19 crisis may last up to 2 years. Not everyone is qualified for mass testing for COVID-19 according to the Department of Health. Know the ways to flatten COVID-19 curve in the Philippines. In Quezon Province, local chief executives agreed to implement extreme enhanced community quarantine. A hospital in Pangasinan closes its doors to patients. Toilet roll cakes keep a Finnish bakery in business.
Good evening. President Rodrigo Duterte speaks of a possibility of selling government assets if need be to address the country and the countrymen's needs in this time of crisis. And if this public health emergency continues, Rosalie Cos tells us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte calls on the Filipino people to do something that will help mitigate the country's plight amid the COVID-19 crisis. The president underscored if the people do not cooperate with the government, it is possible the health crisis will last for up to 2 years.
Help the country alive. I am not asking you to help the economy. Wala kayong maitulong pati ako. Kasi pagka hindi ito naayos, ang COVID, mapurnada talaga tayong lahat. Think of a COVID ganitong sitwasyon. Tatakbo ito ng 2 years.
Meanwhile, according to Finance Secretary Sonny Dominguez, through the fiscal and monetary actions of the administration's economic managers and the central bank, a value of more than 1 trillion pesos has been laid in place for the government to respond to the present crisis. The president under the Bayanihan Law is also authorized by Congress to reallocate funds.
We have a long breakdown of how we have this program, but mostly it was to provide subsidies for the low-income families and workers of the small and medium enterprises.
The Philippines also plans to borrow $5.6 billion from the Asian Development Bank and the World Bank to support the economy and the fight against COVID-19. This as the government has to spend more than what is collected. President Duterte also considers selling some government assets if necessary to address the country's needs, the most affected sector especially.
What is the end game? Pag maubos talaga ang pera, ipabili ko lahat ng propiedad ng gobyerno. Yang cultural center, PICC, yung lupa dyan, totoo. That's the last na pag wala na akong makuha and we are about to sink and really sink, I will sell all the assets of government.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Education Secretary Briones has tested positive for coronavirus disease 2019. She is the second cabinet member to be COVID-19 positive. The first is Interior Secretary Eduardo Año. Malacanang is sad to hear about the report and says the government will pray for Secretary Briones' recovery. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo says the education chief has been an untiring and conscientious member of President Duterte's cabinet. Despite her illness, Secretary Briones says she will continue to perform her duties in isolation. The National Poison Management and Control Center of UPPGH released a statement yesterday on its Facebook page on the WHO's advice on spraying disinfectant on individuals or groups. It says that according to Maria Clara Padovese, Technical Officer and Infection Prevention and Control Expert from WHO, Geneva, the World Health Organization's Infection Prevention and Control does not recommend under any circumstances spraying individuals with chemical disinfectant or detergent. The reason? It is harmful both physically and psychologically. In particular, it is spraying chlorine, which causes eyes and skin irritation, nausea, and vomiting. The WHO maintains proper hand hygiene practices are effective in preventing the transmission of COVID-19. President Rodrigo Duterte warns landlords or lessors who are evicting their tenants and renters or pressuring them to pay their rent this time of coronavirus crisis. The president also calls on COVID-19 survivors. Rosalie Cos explains why.
Under the Bayanihan to Heal as One law, there should be a grace period of at least 30 days for the payment of residential and commercial rent amid the Luzon-wide enhanced community quarantine. President Duterte has this call, both warning and plea to landlords and lessors.
Huwag mo munang hingiin kasi wala talaga, okay naghihirap ngayon. And whatever na ang nasa kamay ng mga tao ngayon, they are saving it for the last day, the rainy days to come.
Meanwhile, as reports surface that in South Korea, plasma therapy has been effective for the recovery of critical COVID-19 patients, President Duterte urges Filipino COVID-19 survivors to donate their plasma.
Mayong nakalabas na sa lahat na magmabuting loob kayo. And I think kung ako, I should volunteer. That is the way of thanking God that you have survived. Pakuha kayo kasi yun ang dugo ninyo, yung plasma ninyo, yun ang i-inject doon sa mga tinamaan.
Scientists are looking into the potential benefits of plasma or blood fluid from COVID-19 recoveries who have developed the antibodies against the virus. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Department of Health maintains its position that not all Filipinos are qualified to undergo COVID-19 testing. Authorities say, however, the country's testing capacity has been expanded. Aiko Miguel explains why.
The Department of Health has finalized the guidelines for the conduct of mass testing for coronavirus in the country. Individuals who are qualified to be tested will be prioritized.
We would like to reiterate again that mass testing does not mean indiscriminate testing of everyone regardless of their circumstances or simply upon the request of the patient. Health professionals shall remain the decision makers if someone needs the test or not.
However, persons who are experiencing mild symptoms, those with history of exposure to COVID-19 positives, patients under investigation, and persons under monitoring who are asymptomatic will also be considered in the mass testing. The Health Department assures that before April ends, accredited testing laboratories will have had the ability to test 8,000 to 10,000 samples daily. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine government has implemented protocols in a bid to prevent the further spread of COVID-19 and to flatten the curve of the disease. But how can this be achieved? Dante Amento reports.
The government, through the National Task Force on COVID-19, wants to continuously lower down the number of coronavirus cases in the country. This is called flattening the curve. NTF COVID-19 spokesperson retired General Restituto Padilla Jr. says there are 4 primary measures to attain this. First, mass testing for PUIs, health workers, pregnant women, and persons with underlying medical conditions. The RITM aims to process 10,000 COVID-19 tests a day in the next 3 months.
Isa ang pasilidad sa tinatawag nating systemic core na siyang nangunguna sa pag-identify ng mga COVID-19 positive patients sa buong bansa.
Second, preparation of quarantine facilities to accept patients from congested hospitals. Third, providing the needs of COVID-19 hospitals such as personal protective equipment and other medical supplies for healthcare workers. Last, the extension of ECQ will allow these things to happen, but the National Task Force on COVID-19 believes all this can be realized if the Filipino people will cooperate with the government.
Tuloy po natin ang pagtutulungan sa ating pamahalaan sa pagpapanatili sa ating mga tahanan upang lalong bumaba ang numero at bilang ng mga taong may sakit na COVID-19. Ito po ang ibig sabihin ng flattening the curve.
Keep in mind that to win this battle, every one of us must play our part. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Spain fast tests public and health workers in Toledo City. And in Madrid, paramedics simulate coronavirus assistance on high-speed train in Madrid. Miguel Rey de Leon reports why.
Spain fast-tested health staff and workers of essential services with coronavirus symptoms on Wednesday in Toledo City. The test consists of a first puncture on the finger, which gives the result in 10 minutes. If it's negative, the person gets a second test by cotton swabs in the nose.
This operation consists of making fast tests on professionals, either health staff or of essential services, symptomatic, that have symptoms and that we need to discard if they are positive, or not to reincorporate them as soon as possible to their work activity.
In Madrid, regional authorities also said coronavirus fast tests are going to be carried out in nursing homes severely affected by the pandemic in Spain. Also in Madrid, paramedics, health and transport workers simulated on Wednesday assisting a coronavirus patient on a high-speed train at Madrid's Atocha train station. Footage showed personnel transferring a dummy from an ambulance to a train coach and carrying out an emergency intubation on the train. The trains have a capacity of 24 patients and can circulate on almost all rail networks across the country if patients were to be transported across regions in Spain, the Transport Ministry said. Spain now has over 14,000 deaths from the coronavirus disease, next to Italy's more than 17,000. Miguel Rey de Leon, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And now here's the latest count of COVID-19 cases around the world. The United States of America remains to be on top of the global tally with 432,438 total confirmed cases and 14,808 deaths. Italy, meanwhile, still has the highest death toll of 17,669 out of 139,422 confirmed cases. Spain has the second most COVID-19 positive numbers to 148,220. Germany has reported 113,296 as of today. France with 83,080 persons, and China with 82,870, with 77,649,000 reported recoveries. Meanwhile, the Philippines records 206 new positives today, bringing the total to 4,076 persons. 21 new deaths were also recorded today. Death toll in the country has reached 203. To date, 124 patients have recovered in the Philippines. Power distributor Manila Electric Company has earlier announced it will base the April billing on the consumer's average power consumption in the last 3 months. But now it says customers may expect a power rate hike this April. Joanne Nano tells us why.
Power rates are up by 10 centavos per kilowatt-hour of consumption this month of April, according to Meralco. This means a typical household that consumes an average of 200 kilowatt-hours per month, the bill for April will be up by 21 pesos. For every 300 kilowatt-hours, the household will pay additional 31 pesos and 50 centavos, 42 pesos if a family uses 400 kilowatt-hours, and 63 pesos for a 500 kilowatt-hour monthly consumption. Meralco explains that while the company reported lower generation charges for this month, the normalization of the universal charge mandated by the Energy Regulatory Commission is attributed to the upward 10 centavos per kilowatt-hour adjustment. Several Meralco customers are complaining about the power rate hike as most residents have no income amid the ECQ.
Dapat pagbigyan muna tayo kahit mga isang buwan lang na hindi muna makabayad or hindi muna siya tumaas.
Dapat hindi kasi galit yung lockdown, yung bagsak yung economy natin, dapat nga i-delivery pa nga tayo eh. Dapat hindi magtaas.
The power distributor maintains its 30-day payment extension due to Luzon-wide ECQ. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Joint Task Force Coronavirus Shield directs quarantine-controlled points personnel not to lower their ground against violators of the enhanced community quarantine following the ECQ extension. Leia Ilagan tells us why.
Don't lower your ground. This is the order of Joint Task Force COVID Shield Commander, Police Lieutenant General Guillermo Eleazar, to police personnel who are implementing the government's enhanced community quarantine protocols. General Eleazar emphasizes the police must implement the lockdown strictly to lessen the movement of residents and to keep them from going outdoors. Based on JTF CV Shield's data from March 17 to April 8, 2020, the PNP arrested more than 96,000 ECQ violators nationwide. 68,451 were just warned and sent home. 4,460 were fined for violating city ordinances. 23,419 were slapped with charges. General Eleazar adds that upon his inspection, he noticed that many vehicles are still traversing roads amid ECQs and lockdowns, particularly non-cargo vehicles. He says those vehicles must be monitored and their drivers must be warned. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
After this COVID-19 crisis, what comes next for workers here and abroad? Well, the Philippines Labor Department is busy preparing for a post-COVID-19 scenario. Late Ray Pelayo will explain why.
According to Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III, they have formed a committee to prepare for government measures to help workers after the crisis brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. The labor chief cited in the program Get It Straight with Daniel Razon the temporary job allocation for informal workers like tricycle drivers and vendors.
Yung aming tupad program na nagbibigay kami ng trabaho for 10 days, actually hindi ito dole out because they're working. And then they will give them a salary of a minimum wage for 10 days.
Meanwhile, it is estimated the number of overseas Filipino workers who lost their jobs into the COVID-19 crisis is about 150,000. Secretary Bello said those OFWs who remain abroad will receive a $200 assistance each.
Umpisa na ngayon ay nagpapadala na po kami ng pera sa lahat ng sulok ng daigdig kung saan meron tayong mga OFW.
The government has so far distributed almost 1 billion pesos as aid to formal and informal Filipino workers. Ray Pilayo, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
It's a holiday today, but several Land Bank of the Philippines branches in Metro Manila were crowded until noon. Let's find out the details why from Asher Kadapan Jr.
About 4,000 public utility vehicle drivers in Metro Manila were expected to receive today the cash assistance from the Department of Social Welfare and Development and the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board under the Social Amelioration Program. These include drivers of public utility jeepneys, UV Express, point-to-point or P2P, taxi, transport network vehicle service or TNVS, school and tourist transport, and motorcycle taxis. A driver may check if he or she is among the 40,000 beneficiaries on the LTFRB Facebook page. If a driver's name is not on the list, it may be included in the next batch, or the driver might be listed under another DSWD program like the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program or 4Ps. The LTFRB advises PUV drivers to wait for the complete list to find out whether they are included in the program. Some Land Bank of the Philippines branches in Metro Manila opened from 8:30 a.m. to noon today, although it's a holiday today. Many of those who received the cash assistance expressed thanks to the government.
Marami sir, tulad ng pang-araw-araw na gastusin, tsaka yung mga bill sa siguro, sa kuryente, tubig, sa pagtapos ng quarantine na ito.
Maraming salamat Pangulong Duterte sa mga ayodang binibigay mo sa amin. Sa lahat ng Pilipino na minahal mo. Kahit pa paano, napakalaking tulong ng binigay nila sa amin ito. Kahit na ito hanggang 30, kaya nung binigay nilang budget.
As of April 8, the LTFRB has disbursed cash aids to a total of 2,295 PUV drivers. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
A hospital in Pangasinan closes its doors to patients. In Quezon Province, local chief executives agreed to implement extreme enhanced community quarantine. Sherwin Kulabong reports why.
Eastern Pangasinan District Hospital located in the town of Tayug will not accept patients for now. This after one of its doctors tested positive for COVID-19. According to the Provincial Health Office, the doctor might have contracted the disease from one of the coronavirus patients in another hospital. DOH Region 1 has recommended the hospital's closure and the transfer of the hospital's patients to another health facility in the province.
Magsarado muna po sila sa kanilang hospital. Huwag naman nang tumanggap ng mga bago po mga pasyente. At yung mga pasyente po natin doon na tingnan po natin kung saan po sila pwedeng i-refer.
Meanwhile, the mayors and the interagency task force in Quezon Province have agreed to impose a total lockdown in the entire province from April 9 to 30, 2020 in a bid to prevent the further increase in number of COVID-19 positives. As of 1 p.m. today, there are 20 confirmed COVID-19 cases in Quezon.
Ang mangyayari doon, since wala naman ang papayagan sa mga borders, at saka yung movement from one town to another town, wala na yun. Only authorized persons outside of residence talagang papayagan. It's alarming. It's 19 already. Alam mo yun? Ilang linggo lang. 4, 3. Di ba? Oo. Sabihin sa isang araw, lumalabas 3.
Based on the guidelines of the Extreme Enhanced Community Quarantine in Quezon, strict home quarantine protocol is imposed, a one-person per household policy for the distribution of quarantine passes, mandatory wearing of face mask in public places, and curfew from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. Sherwin Kulubong, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Relief may be far, but teachers will assure to bring it. In Bicol, a group of teachers and their principal will soon arrive in a remote area to visit their pupils, plus a surprise. Macreli Cordova tells us why.
Teachers and principal of Buena Vista National High School in Masbate Province are reaching out through social media to raise more funds and donations to help students in need. In particular are the pupils living in a remote area, which is a 10 to 12 kilometer walk to the school.
Marami tayong mga estudyante dito na ang pamilya talaga ay hindi kayang andun lang sa loob na walang tulong from the other, aside from the government.
Principal Alona Abo-Abo adds that this charitable work is inspired by the acts and deeds of Mr. Public Service Kuya Daniel Razon.
O yun po, nakita ko kasi na talaga, aktibo siya sa pagbibigay ng tulong through media. Kaya doon, na-inspire din ako.
Ms. Alona also seeks help from UNTV to accompany the teachers in giving away their assistance and provision for their student. Mac Cordova, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Now that Luzon and other parts of the country are either under enhanced community quarantine or lockdown in a bid to prevent the further spread of COVID-19, many residents rely on relief goods coming from the government. Do you want to know the many different ways to serve them on the family's dining table the healthy way? Dante Amento has the details.
When relief items arrive at Filipino doorsteps, We instantly think of many different ways to serve them on the dining table for the entire family to enjoy. Canned sardines for one, which apparently every barangay received. Tortang sardinas mixed with healthy vegetables. Lumpiang sardinas and ginataan are just some of those innovative recipes. Sardines are rich in omega fatty acids for healthy cell reproduction, while noodles are abundant with calories for source of energy. But nutritionists and clinical dietitians do not advise the daily consumption of these food products, especially for the elderly. Preservatives and salt content can cause diabetes, hypertension, and heart problems.
So for an average adult kasi, ang intake ng salt niya dapat for one day is nasa 500 milligrams lang. For example, yung sardinas, sa isang serving ng sardinas, nasa 610 milligrams na agad.
Clinical dietitian Gilbert Gonzalez Jr. suggests to sprinkle or mix sardines and noodles with vegetables.
Hindi siya advisable for the long run. Ngayon, paano natin siya gagawing healthier? Mag-incorporate tayo ngayon ng mga healthy food items like, kunwari, malunggay. Kasi ang malunggay, napakataas ng vitamin C content niyan. And very healthy siya, lalo na sa mga pregnant women.
Remember, it's important to stay safe and stay healthy. Dante Avento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Looking for a job may be even harder due to the effects of COVID-19, according to Trade Union Congress of the Philippines spokesperson Alan Tanhusay. Vincent Arboleda will tell us why.
The coronavirus disease has forced a lot of companies to halt their operation. Others maintain a skeleton workforce to continue essential functions. A few managed to implement a work-from-home scheme for their business. For Alan Tanhusay, spokesperson of Trade Union Congress of the Philippines, people will find it difficult to find jobs in the aftermath of COVID-19. Just like the now closed Honda Cars Philippines company in Laguna.
Once na matapos itong enhanced community quarantine natin lahat mahihirapan na magtrabaho ulit. Maraming mga company kasi ang baka hindi na makabalik sa operation at marami yung company na makakabalik man pero mababawasan yung mga manggagawa nila.
Tanhusay advises those Honda Cars Philippines employees to keep and save their separation pay in a bank and think wisely how to use the money. When looking for employment, it would be good to apply for a job that suits your special skills to give you an edge. The Department of Labor and Employment has formed a committee to study possible scenarios post-COVID-19 to ensure job security in the country. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Here's Kath Morales live from Bangkok, Thailand. Kath, good evening.
Good evening, Diego. Ecuadorian President Lenin Moreno calls for an investigation into how local authorities handled the bodies of coronavirus victims in Guayaquil, the epicenter of the country's outbreak that has overwhelmed health and sanitary authorities. Aaron Romero explains why.
Family members in the Ecuadorian port city, Guayaquil, have complained via social media that public hospitals have failed to quickly locate the bodies of their loved ones, and in some cases, misidentified the remains. Ecuadorian President Lenin Moreno wrote on Twitter, "We will not allow anyone to be buried without being identified. They deserve a goodbye with dignity." The tweet included a copy of a formal complaint over alleged irregularities filed by Jorge Wated, the state official tasked with handling corpses during the crisis. The speed of the outbreak in Guayaquil left corpses uncollected in homes and even in some cases in the streets, forcing authorities to store bodies in refrigerated containers and later to open a cemetery to begin burying the dead, according to residents. Of Ecuador's reported 4,450 cases of the disease, as of today, 242 have died. while another 240 residents are suspected to have died from the virus. Health Minister Juan Carlos Ceballos said on Tuesday he had sacked an official who requested money in exchange for handing over the remains of a victim in a Guayaquil public hospital. Aaron Romero, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The lockdown imposed in Jordan Valley, West Bank due to the COVID-19 pandemic is a double-edged sword for Bedouin herders. Noel Poliarco explains why.
Bedouin herders in the Israeli-occupied West Bank are already isolated by virtue of their nomadic lifestyle, but they have become more cut off than ever from ordinary Palestinian life since the coronavirus outbreak began. That isolation for them is a double-edged sword. They say their mobility makes them less vulnerable to catching the infection, but a territory-wide lockdown imposed to slow the spread of the disease means they are no longer able to sell their farm produce in villages. Some 30,000 Palestinians lived in pastoral encampments and have largely been spared by the restrictions imposed in towns and villages, where 240 cases of COVID-19 and 1 fatality have been documented. 53-year-old Muhammad Ishaq, a Bedouin near Jericho in the Jordan Valley, says he can no longer gain access to nearby communities to sell cheese and other sheep products.
Our losses will be great because the farming sector has taken a hit. We used to sell our food products in the cities. Now we are trying to contact residents to sell our products, but there is a lockdown.
Ali Abed Rabo, General Director of Preventive Medicine at the Palestinian Health Ministry, says the herders' lifestyle might put them at an advantage in terms of not catching the virus, but on condition none of them mixes with the residents of the cities and the villages. Noel Poliarco, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Cubans cast aside coronavirus fears to search for scarcer food, while Gaza health officials announced there are no more coronavirus testing kits in the self-governing Palestinian territory. Jovic Bermas details why.
Long lines of people wanting to enter supermarkets. Authorities explaining the government's guidelines. This has been the worsened daily scenario in Cuba since the COVID-19 pandemic began. Residents of all ages in Havana are trudging from store to store to locate scarce goods despite recommendations from health experts to stay at home and respect social distancing guidelines to avoid contracting the highly contagious coronavirus disease. Luis Enrique Plutin, a farmer working the fields under a hot sun with fellow cooperative members on the outskirts of Havana, admit the difficulties they are facing just to produce something and produce more for the population. No more coronavirus testing kits. This was the announcement of Gaza Health Ministry spokesman Ashraf Al-Qidwa on Wednesday, amid fears of catastrophe if the illness spreads in the self-governing Palestinian territory. The official added dozens of samples are awaiting to be tested. The lack of coronavirus testing kits represents a new challenge for the Ministry of Health in confronting the pandemic and would influence the release of hundreds of people in quarantine facilities. Gaza has reported 13 cases of coronavirus infection out of almost 2 million population. Poor South Africans put out of work by the coronavirus lockdown queued for food aid this week, as the government and aid agencies tried to prevent a sharp economic downturn and mass job losses turning into hunger. In Gauteng province, which includes the main commercial city of Johannesburg and the capital Pretoria, and is home to about 15 million people, some 54,000 poor and homeless people unable to make a living have been earmarked for food aid packages. But even before the lockdown, around 30% of South Africans were out of work. Jovic Bermas, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Brazilian soldiers were among the 1,000 blood donors in Rio de Janeiro yesterday. Meanwhile, the Dutch government has announced it would ramp up testing capacity for some 4,000 tests a day to 17,500. Mirasol Abogadil tells us why.
Brazil's military steps into the nation's fight against the new coronavirus pandemic, not with arms and guns at hand, but by helping to restock low blood bank supplies. On Wednesday, Brazilian soldiers from the 57th Motorized Infantry Division volunteered to donate blood in Rio de Janeiro.
In this theater where we are at war against a strong, powerful, and invincible enemy, the armed forces once again will fight without fear to protect and defend our population.
Brazilian Army Colonel Rego Barros added this action is contributing to the combat and control and the prevention of COVID-19 to minimize the suffering of the Brazilian population. The largest country in both South America and Latin America as of today has 16,195 confirmed coronavirus cases, while deaths has risen to more than 600. In the Netherlands, the Dutch government is ramping up testing for the new coronavirus. Drive-in locations for the healthcare personnel have been set up as augmentation, including one site at an ice rink.
In the summer, this ice rink is not used. This is a very suitable location to test people in a safe and hygienic way.
Previously, the Dutch only tested hospital staff and patients with serious symptoms. Since Monday, however, the drive-in test sites have been open to other healthcare workers like general practitioners, nursing home staff, and home care workers with mild symptoms. As of today, April 9, the country has recorded more than 20,000 infections, but health authorities say that true number is likely higher because of limited testing so far. Mirasol Abogadil, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And those are the stories around the globe. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, Kath Dumaraos, reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand.
A 9-man bakery in the capital of Finland has come up with a way to stay in business amid the present health crisis. Its owner says that the innovation is a game changer. Nina Armilio has the details.
At the same time as panicked customers began to hoard toilet rolls amid the coronavirus pandemic, the dismayed staff at the Rantos Ruva bakery found all their orders cancelled last month. But a quick-thinking Helsinki bakery owner has saved their business from financial ruin. Business owner and CEO Sanna Lampinen thought of creating a cake that looks like a toilet roll.
For us, it's a game changer, and I'm relieved because I know that all my employees are safe for months now, and I'm hoping that the situation will stay.
The toilet roll cake is made of oat batter, passion fruit mousse, and covered with white fondant. The first 5 cakes sold within an hour, according to confectioner Uliana Timofieva. Yanika, a customer from Helsinki, patronized the toilet paper cake for a special occasion.
We used to live in the neighborhoods, and I read from the newspaper about this, and this is my ex-local, so I decided to support it. And my husband is having birthday tomorrow, and I thought this is perfect cake for him.
The bakery now has hundreds of orders and has even been able to hire 2 extra people to the 9-member team. Nina Armilio, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Today is the Day of Valor, or Araw ng Kagitingan. Today, we pay tribute to the sacrifices and heroism of Filipino Americans during the Second World War. Let's watch this.
April 9, we commemorate the valor that was shown by the Filipino-American troops during World War II. After the last gallant stand of Phil-Am forces against the Japanese on April 9, 1942, more than 67,000 captives were forced to walk 140 kilometers from Bataan to Tarlac, where thousands died, threading towards Camp O'Donnell. This is the Death March. Death March, also known as the Fall of Bataan, took place after 93 days of intense fighting between Japanese and Phil-Am forces. In various times and in many forms, bravery is seen in our country. In battles, Filipinos never back down. Surrender is hardly an option. Fortified with courage, valor is shown in every phase of our history. Medal of Valor is normally bestowed with our uniformed men and women. Rightly so, as these individuals have shown extreme courage in their line of duty. Now, as we face this battle, our frontliners have been shown more than valor. Many among them fell victim to this foe we've known little and cannot be seen. Each day, our frontliners fall and die. Unto their heroism we pay tribute. April 9, 2020, a day that we dedicate now for their courage and dedication. This fight against COVID-19, their bravery gives strength for cure. With our fervent prayers and God's mercy, this shall pass too, and the battle can be won. Today is a day of valor, a day we commemorate for the heroism that they demonstrate. Frontliners are modern-day heroes.
Our Kasangbahay, we are at a time when the country is under a state of health emergency. The cooperation of all Filipinos is imperative to avoid the deadly virus. We are calling on everyone to be calm.
And most importantly, let us join together in prayer for our country and for the world, the whole world, to survive this crisis. You may join us in our daily UNTV community prayer at these hours as flashed on your screens. Those are the reasons behind the news. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And I am Angelo Castro III, because we need to know. We will always ask why. Good evening.